Hi, and welcome to Nitty Gritty. I'm your host, Ryan Biller, and joining us on set today is Chris DeLeon. Chris is the editor-in-chief of the Criterion. Chris, thanks for being here.
Hey, thanks for having me.
So just to jump right in, the Criterion is Mesa's newspaper on campus. And something that makes you guys a little bit different than other college newspapers is that you guys have a wider audience in the sense that you guys are creating content that needs to be relevant for both residents of Grand Junction along with CMU students and staff. So how do you guys find a balance between content that's relevant for both?
Well, it's not necessarily always easy. Primarily, our focus is directed right here at CMU, and we want to make sure that our primary audience remains the students, but also the faculty, the staff. We want to make sure that we have content that's relevant for everybody. But on top of that, nobody exists within just a microcosm or a bubble right here on CMU. They go out into the community. And so there's a lot of events and there's a lot of things that happen all around Grand Junction. And so we want to make sure that we really highlight Mesa County as a whole and make sure that people understand not just CMU, but what it's like to exist within this larger area.
Right. I noticed that you guys have an online presence and your website has almost daily content. You guys are producing content on a very regular basis. So how do you guys have the ability to find such a steady stream of content?
Well, sometimes that actually is hard. Sometimes,
Right.
behind the scenes, I'm kind of grouching at my editors because there's just not a lot of fresh content. We want to make sure that we really have that, especially since we went to only printing every other week now, primarily because our printing days got pushed back and our printing prices got raised.
Yeah.
So I was like, as long as we maintain online daily content, then we'll be fine. But, it really causes the editors to have to keep their ear to the ground and know exactly what's going on campus as well as in the surrounding area so that we can continue to put out that information.
Right.
And sometimes it means that the editors have to lean on the writers and be like, bro, you got to get this to me like now.
Yeah. You mentioned print, and you guys print, you said, every 2 weeks, correct?
Yeah.
And so how do you guys decide which articles are worthy and which information is worthy of going to the print as opposed to going online?
Well, sometimes it really depends on what we have. As much as it chagrins me to admit, sometimes all we have is just enough to fill our print pages, which are days, again, in those closed meetings is where I'm a little bit grouchy with the staff because we need to make sure that we're producing more than that. But other times, there's a conversation we have to realize, what's the most relevant and what's the most intriguing, what's really going to cause students to actually reach down and pick up a physical copy of the paper and read through it.
Right. Now, do you guys, obviously it takes a team to be able to operate a newspaper. So how does that usually look and what are some of the different positions that a student can fill if they're interested in joining a Criterion?
Well, there's several positions within the Criterion. When it comes to editor positions, most of those are filled, although hopefully I'll be creating a new copy editor position coming up dependent on approval by the Senate to alter my constitution. But primarily the way it falls is there's the editor-in-chief, there's the managing editor, hopefully the copy editor. We also have a distribution manager, a business manager, and then we have the section editors as well. There's news, art and life, sports, which comes with an assistant sports editor, and opinions. And
Right.
then the bulk of the staff is actually just our staff writers or staff photographers. And anybody who wants to get involved with the Criterion from that standpoint, we always need more staff. So if they want to show up to our meetings in the University Center, room 211, at 5 p.m. every week, then they're more than welcome. As soon as they come in, they'll be greeted as family and treated as such as long as they continue to help the Criterion thrive.
Is there anything specific that you look for in an incoming staff writer?
Really, a passion for the news is what's most important. If they roll in and they're just going to sit there and they're not really wanting to contribute or wanting to help, then they're not necessarily really helping
Right.
us. So as long as they have a passion for wanting to pursue media, whether that's through their writing or through their photography, they're most welcome.
Yeah. You had mentioned a little bit earlier that you guys have multiple sections, from art and life to opinions to news. Do you guys have one section in particular that seems to have a trend to be the most popular amongst students?
Usually it's opinions. And it's not necessarily because they're looking for the opinion that they agree with. What we find a lot of times with our opinion articles is we try to present balanced views. So if we're going to have somebody that's got a negative view of something, we want somebody that also has the positive view of it. But all people really want to read is the opinion that disagrees with them. So it's like those are the articles that we see have the highest readership and the highest level of comment is they want to be angry. Yeah. And they want to have a dispute.
Yeah.
And that's fine, because as long as they're reading those articles and it's generating any sort of response, even if they're not reading the opinion that agrees with them, they're still reading it and it still stimulates conversation.
Yeah, unlike a lot of your other sections, such as Art and Life, which is primarily revolves around things that are relevant to Grand Junction and CMU, the opinions seems to cover a wide variety of different topics. I noticed that some of them are about religion, other ones are about gun violence, all a very wide variety. So is there any sort of restrictions that are placed on your staff writers who create opinions as far as content?
There's more restrictions this year than there were last year. We do still want to have it so that there is some sort of CMU focus, some way that it actually is going to affect students here on campus. Even when it comes to the religious column, we want to open it up not just to those of the same Christian faith that's been represented in keeping the faith, but now we're making a concerted effort to actually reach out to the other faiths that are represented here on campus. Now, if it's just some faith that's not even here, then we wouldn't necessarily want it. When it comes to gun violence, it's something that's been in a lot of people's minds, and so we found a way to have the CMU focus for that conversation to be had. So, we want to make sure that there's actually some sort of way to tie it back into CMU, because otherwise, last year we had an opinion article that included the topic of the Westboro Baptist Church, and it stimulated more controversy and more difficulty than it was really worth, because it actually didn't really have any sort of connection to CMU. So that's where we have the restrictions now this year.
Okay, that makes sense. And so just to switch gears a little bit, I understand that you guys have an upcoming event that you'll be hosting this October. Can you expand on that a little bit?
Yeah, so the upcoming event that we have is, it's not necessarily something that has to do with the newspaper. It's something that has to do with the broader community outreach. So the event itself is a costume dance party that we're going to be hosting in the ballroom in CMU University Center. And it's October 26th, runs from 7 p.m. till midnight. And the whole point behind it was, there's events around Halloween for children that are, of a young age, and then there's stuff for people that are over 21.
Yeah.
But for everybody that's too old to go trick-or-treating and too young to go to the bars, there's just this huge gap that does not get filled. And, you might be able to tell from the gray in my beard, but I'm an older student, I'm non-traditional, and I actually have a teenager. So that's where we ran into this issue. Was last year we had nothing for our teenager to do. So the point is to give the community, and even students here at CMU that are under 21, something that they can do that's fun, free to attend, safe, and legal. So they're going to be showing up, they can wear the costumes, KMSA is going to be doing the DJing for it, there's going to be a costume contest, there's going to be prizes that are given away, some of which that have been donated by sponsors in the community. So it's not just CMU, but it's people in the surrounding area that have all seen the reason to host an event like this and have both students and community members come together and have a good time. Yeah,
definitely. What specific role does the Criterion play in that? Because you mentioned that it's not necessarily all newspaper-based. So what is your guys' role in the event?
The Criterion's role is really that of host. And again, this goes into a really broader sense of it. And it's because it's important to the Criterion that we engage in philanthropy, that we don't just give people some facts, give them some opinions to get them riled up, but we also have a positive impact because we have that ability as a student-run organization to do so. And I think an obligation as well. So the philanthropy aspect of that is the entire event is serving as a fundraiser that's going to help the Justice League of Hope in their mission to take care of families. So all the money that gets raised both at the event and leading up to the event is going to go toward taking care of underprivileged families at Christmas. And that's a lot more than just Christmas presents for the children. There is that aspect. So they're going to have an awesome Christmas, something that they wouldn't otherwise get, where superheroes, dress up and bring them Christmas presents.
Yeah.
But in the larger respect, it's actually taking care of the families, because these families, it's parents that are struggling, it's parents that are doing all that they can to take care of their family, and they're just not able to do it on their own.
Yeah.
You know, it's like they make too much to qualify for that government assistance, but they don't make enough to live.
Yeah.
So, you know, already the Justice League of Hope has stepped in and prevented a single mother from going homeless. There's other families that are on the verge of becoming homeless simply because they just can't make it on their own. And there's actually some that are already homeless, and the league is going to be looking to get them under shelter and have them taken care of. So it's really important to do so, because family units, you know, that are working really hard and just aren't able to get there, they need as much help as they can.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so it's really awesome that the Criterion then is able to not only host a fun event, but then use that as an opportunity for philanthropy, to make sure that the community sees that that there's people that feel invisible and they're not.
Yeah.
And we have the opportunity to shine a light on those people and let them realize that they are visible, that they do matter, and that CMU students deeply care about what happens to people in the community.
Yeah. You meant, so as far as the Justice League of Hope goes, how did that relationship between the Criterion and the Justice League of Hope begin?
Well, that relationship really began as soon as I became aware of the Justice League of Hope. I'm a huge nerd. You know, I got married wearing a Superman costume.
Oh, wow, very cool.
And my wife was wearing her Wonder Woman costume, you know, so it was this great event, you know, all of our guests showed up in costume as well.
Awesome, yeah.
And so it's just this big comic book nerd out, you know, to celebrate us coming together. So then we wore those same costumes to last year's Comic-Con that's held by Mesa County Libraries in October, and we saw the Justice League of Hope. We'd never heard of them before. And they're coming up on stage and they're talking about how they go and visit sick children in hospitals. They take care of families at Christmas. And my wife has a huge heart, so immediately she was like, that sounds like so much fun, we should do that. So I reached out to them and we got involved, and it's been hugely rewarding for us. But again, you know, because of my unique position within the Criterion, you know, it provided a unique platform where we could really shine a spotlight on this organization and cause them to be able to have some growth through how, you know, we could enable them through our CMU connection.
Yeah, absolutely. So just the one last question is that, as for a student who might want to get involved with the Criterion, what are some steps that they can go about to become involved?
Okay, everybody who wants to be involved with the Criterion, like I said, they just need to show up to those meetings Monday at 5 p.m. In University Center, room 211. And they can come in, they're welcome to bring all their own ideas as well, because the editors don't necessarily always know exactly everything that's going on. And if for some reason they're not able to make those meetings, they can always email me personally, cldeleon@mavs.coloradomesa.edu, or they can email the Criterion, which is just criterion@coloradomesa.edu. They can also even go through our Facebook page. Any way that they want to become involved, either with our event or just with the newspaper as a whole, they're more than welcome to. We're always willing to welcome new family members with open arms.
Yeah, good to know. Chris, thanks for being here. Join us next week for our next episode of Nitty Gritty.